American television sitcom ALF aired on NBC for 4 seasons, from September 22, 1986 to March 24, 1990. It was created and produced by Tom Patchett and Paul Fusco. Tom also wrote and directed the series under the production company they formed along with producer Bernie Brillstein, Alien Productions. Bernie wasn't initially interested in ALF because he managed Jim Henson and regarded him as the best puppeteer in showbiz. In the early 80s, Paul made a deal with Showtime for a series of specials. Coming out of their development was a character he decided to set aside for later use, a malevolent, beady-eyed alien he dubbed ALF. He pitched ALF to a lot of companies over the span of 2 or 3 years. After failing to arrive at a deal with other studios, the trio then took their idea to NBC, which was still in the process of recovering from a dire fall season and a string of failures. Thanks to Tom, they got an audience with President Brandon Tartikoff. With the pitch falling on deaf ears, out came ALF from a plastic bag stashed beneath the conference table, ready to save the day. Paul recalled the moment to The Hollywood Reporter in 2012. It looked like he was sitting at the table right next to Tartikoff, and it was just silence. They didn't expect that, and everyone was waiting for you to say something incredibly funny or something in the moment. And ALF didn't really say anything. ALF just kind of looked around the room and picked his nose and wiped it on Tartikoff. The plot centers on an alien from the planet Melmac who follows an amateur radio signal to Earth and crash lands into the garage of the Tanners, a suburban middle-class family who live in the San Fernando Valley area of California. The family consists of Willie, played by Max Wright, a social worker and radio enthusiast who's responsible for the shortwave radio signals that ALF followed, ultimately leading him to crash into his house, his wife Kate, played by Anne Schedeen, their teenage daughter Lynn, played by Andrea Elson, younger brother Brian, played by Benji Gregory, and pet cat Lucky, who ALF consistently attempts to catch and eat. Willie gives Gordon the nickname ALF, an acronym for Alien Life Form, and unsure what to do, the Tanners take ALF into their home to hide him from the Alien Task Force, a part of the US military that specializes in aliens and their nosy neighbors, until he can repair his spacecraft. Though ALF's culture shock, survivor's guilt, and loneliness often cause problems for the Tanners, as well as their fear of what could happen if others were to discover his existence, they grow to care for and love him as part of the family. It's later revealed that ALF's home planet Melmac exploded due to nuclear war, leaving him and other survivors of his species without a home, and that he survived its destruction because he was away as part of the Melmac Orbit Guard. Airing opposite MacGyver and Kate and Allie, ALF premiered on September 22, 1986. Episodes dealt with ALF learning about Earth and making new friends both within and outside the Tanner family. ALF scored its highest ratings during Season 2, reaching 10th place. Ratings remained at a steady 13th place during Season 3, but plummeted to 39th place during Season 4. NBC moved the show from its traditional Monday night slot to Saturday in the spring of 1990, and eventually moved to Sunday, but ratings continued to fall. The Season 4 ending cliffhanger became an unintentional series finale when NBC gave the production company a verbal commitment for a 5th season, but ultimately withdrew its support. Brandon Tartikoff later admitted that the network regretted canceling ALF prematurely. Due to the inherent nature of producing a show featuring hand-operated puppets, ALF was technically difficult and extremely demanding on everyone in front of and behind the scenes. The lead actors confirmed their frustrations during a 2000 People magazine interview. Max Wright despised his role as supporting player to an inanimate object, especially one that came with enormous technical demands and hogged most of the good lines. It was hard work and very grim. I was hugely eager to have it over with. As a classically trained theater actor, he became so disenchanted with the role that he was prone to storming off the set. In a 2016 article for Mental Floss, Benji told a story about a negative experience he had with his TV dad. We were rehearsing a script where Max makes kind of a cage for ALF, and I get locked up in it. And I flubbed a line, and Max flipped out on me. I'm 9 years old and he's screaming. I'm bawling. Actor Dean Cameron, who played Lynn's boyfriend, Robert Sherwood, also told a story of his own about Max. They're blocking a scene and Anne Schedeen says, "Do I really need to be in this scene?" And then someone else asked the same thing. He started saying, "I'm here to work. Are you here to work?" Pretty soon, they're all screaming at each other and the set clears. As he's walking off, Max starts screaming, "Put us all on sticks. We're the puppets here. We're the puppets." So his actions on the last night of filming shouldn't have been a surprise to anyone, as detailed by co-star Anne Schedeen. There was one take, and Max walked off the set, went to his dressing room, got his bags, went to his car, and disappeared. Nobody had to say wrap, and there were no goodbyes. He later admitted that as the years passed, he looked back at ALF with less animosity. "It doesn't matter what I felt or what the days were like. ALF brought people a lot of joy. They adored it." Anne herself didn't have any better of a time either. "Believe me, there was no joy on the set. It was a technical nightmare, extremely slow, hot, and tedious. If you had a scene with ALF, it took centuries. A 30-minute show took 25 hours to shoot." Although she was fond of her screen kids, she says some of the adults had difficult personalities, and things operated like a big, dysfunctional family. "It's astonishing to me that ALF really was wonderful and that word never got out what a mess our set really was." The best thing that happened to Andrea Elson on the set was that she met her future husband, Scott Hopper, who was a production assistant. However, some of her memories of ALF are bleak. She claimed that there was tension on the set because the cast had to play second fiddle to a puppet. If ALF had gone one more year, everybody would have lost it. By the second season, she'd also developed bulimia, an eating disorder. After battling the disease for years, she finally became healthy in 1997 while pregnant with her daughter. For Benji Gregory, during his years as ALF's youngest cast member, the enormous warehouse where the show filmed was a romper room. The only times it felt like work was when the lights were on and it was real hot. As far as how he felt about the cancellation, it was a relief. "I didn't want to do any more shows, but I don't regret any of it." In a 2012 interview with The Hollywood Reporter, Paul admitted that tapings were long and grueling. The set was built on a platform raised 4 feet above the ground, with trapdoors constructed so that ALF could appear almost anywhere. Paul operated him from underneath, so the unoccupied holes all over the floor were deep and treacherous. The trapdoors also had to be reset multiple times, sometimes during a single scene. During tapings, Paul would also wear a head-mounted microphone to record ALF's voice. The whole process resulted in numerous mistakes and retakes, making it impossible to record the show in front of a live audience. A laugh track was added during post-production. In reference to the tension, he commented, "It was just the nature of the beast. There was no way we could have made it go any further or any faster. So no, I think it was frustrating that it would take so long, but people got paid for what they did. Despite what people thought, that there was a lot of tension on set, there really wasn't." To capitalize on the success of the series, a spin-off animated version was produced, airing Saturday mornings on NBC, called ALF: The Animated Series. When the cartoon entered its second season, it was paired in a 1-hour block with its own spin-off, ALF Tales, which took Gordon and the cast of characters from season 1 and recast them as characters from assorted classic fairy tales. Now let's get into some fun facts about ALF. ALF's birthday is October 28, 1756. ALF had 8 stomachs, which is probably why he had such a notoriously huge appetite. While Dolby surround sound is now very common, ALF was the first show to be presented in it. Brandon Tartikoff was actually going to pass on the show after the pilot was shot, but his daughter, who was 3 or 4 at the time, loved it. That's what motivated him to give the show a chance. Paul was notoriously secretive about his character up until the series premiere. During the show's production, he refused to acknowledge that the puppet ALF was anything other than an alien. All involved with the production were cautioned not to reveal any of ALF's production secrets. ALF's popularity with children changed the direction of the show. which is why Alf, who drank a beer in the first episode, didn't consume any alcohol on screen after the first season. While co-creator Paul Fusco performed as Alf's voice and puppeteer, in scenes where Alf appeared in full body, he was performed by 2 feet 9 inches Hungarian actor, circus performer, and stuntman Mishu Mazaros. In addition to Paul, the show had 2 assistant puppeteers on hand, Lisa Buckley and Bob Fabiano. To avoid wear and tear on the principal Alf puppet, the performers rehearsed with an early version of Alf named Ralph, R-A-L-F, for Rehearsal Alien Lifeform. Alf's on-screen popularity also extended off-screen in the form of lots of merchandise. An Alf poster outsold one featuring Bon Jovi, a massive accomplishment in the mid-'80s. All told, Alf-related merchandise rang up well over $250 million in sales in 1987. Baby Eric, played by Charles Nickerson, was added to the series at the end of season 3 because Anne Schedeen was pregnant at the time. While the series ended on an unresolved cliffhanger, a 1996 made-for-TV movie, Project Alf, was later made and served as a series finale for the franchise. The movie, though, is often rejected by Alf fans. One reason they hated it? None of the original human cast returned. On the DVD, the "To Be Continued" disclaimer was removed from the series finale due to its eventual cancellation. In 2004, Alf received his very own talk show called Alf's Hit Talk Show. It featured a mix of celebrity interviews and skits. The show, which lasted only 7 episodes, was filmed in front of a live audience with co-host Ed McMahon. During its time on the air, Alf won numerous awards. In 1987, the show won a People's Choice Award for Favorite New TV Comedy Program. In 1988, it won Favorite Show at the Kids' Choice Awards, and at the 1989 Kids' Choice Awards, Alf himself won Favorite TV Actor. Sadly, in the years Alf has been off the air, we've lost 2 of the principal actors. Max Wright died on June 26, 2019, due to complications from lymphoma at the Lillian Booth Actors Home in Englewood, New Jersey. He was originally diagnosed with the disease in 1995, but was successfully treated and remained in remission until 2019. He was 75 years old. On June 13, 2024, Benji Gregory passed away. On July 10th, his sister Rebecca told TMZ that her brother was found deceased in his car along with his service dog Hans at a Chase Bank parking lot in Peoria, Arizona. She said the family didn't announce the death sooner to take time to mourn. She also added that her brother suffered from depression, bipolar disorder, and had a sleep disorder that often kept him awake for days. Those close to him believe he went to the bank to make a deposit on the 12th, fell asleep in his car, and tragically died from vehicular heat stroke due to Arizona's intense summer heat. He was 46 years old. Between 2004 and 2006, Lionsgate Home Entertainment released all 4 seasons of Alf on DVD in North America. Lionsgate insisted they had to utilize syndicated versions for the release, saying it would be cost prohibitive to remaster the original NBC TV broadcast versions. Not surprisingly, this resulted in heavy criticism. In 2010, a shocking outtake reel from the show surfaced online, featuring Alf, voiced by Paul, making sexually charged comments and dropping the N-bomb several times. Apparently, he was actually mocking a then recent episode of LA Law dealing with Tourette syndrome. Asked to comment, Steve Lamar, associate producer on Alf for 3 years, stated, "You're talking about 20 years ago when the world was not so ridiculously PC. Anyone that's offended needs to lighten up already." In 2012, it was reported that Sony Pictures Animation had acquired the rights to Alf and would develop the property into a CGI live action hybrid feature. The Smurfs producer Jordan Kerner would also produce the film, along with Tom Patchett and Paul Fusco. There were reports in 2018 that the show was going to be rebooted by Warner Brothers, but that idea ultimately folded before production ever started. In 2022, it was announced that Shout Factory acquired the distribution rights to the series. They set up an Alf TV YouTube channel, posting several full episodes in their syndicated versions, as well as clips from others. This was followed in 2023 by Shout's release of a new DVD box set containing Alf, Alf the Animated Series, ALF Tales, and Project ALF. In the US, ALF can currently be watched on several streaming services, such as Peacock and Tubi.